Good evening and welcome to our debate. Tonight, we delve into a significant question. Should university education be free for all prospective students? This is a topic that sparks considerable discussion, touching upon issues of accessibility, economic policy, and the very purpose of higher education in our society. Joining us are Dr. Eleanor Vance, an educational policy analyst who will argue in favor of free university education, and Mr. Samuel Cole, an economist who will present arguments against it. We will begin with opening statements, followed by rebuttals, a moderated discussion, and finally, closing statements. Dr. Vance, please begin.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. I firmly believe that university education is a fundamental right and an indispensable public good, not a mere commodity to be bought and sold. Making higher education free for all is paramount to fostering a society that values knowledge, equality, and progress. It is about unlocking human potential on an unprecedented scale. The most immediate and profound impact of free university education would be a dramatic increase in access and equality of opportunity. Socioeconomic background should never be a barrier to higher learning. Imagine the talent we currently leave untapped, simply because bright, capable individuals cannot afford the fees. This is a loss not just for them, but for all of us. Furthermore, the societal benefits are immense. A more educated populace leads to a more skilled and adaptable workforce, driving innovation and economic growth. Graduates are more likely to engage in civic life, contribute to their communities, and make informed decisions, strengthening our democracy. This isn't an expense, it's an investment in our collective future. Consider the crippling burden of student debt that currently weighs down millions of graduates. This debt delays major life decisions, like buying a home, starting a family, or launching a business. By eliminating tuition fees, we would free graduates to contribute to the economy much sooner, stimulating demand and creating a more dynamic financial landscape. They could invest, innovate, and consume, rather than being shackled by debt repayments for decades. We need only look at international examples to see the success of free or low-cost higher education. Countries like Germany, Norway, and Finland have demonstrated that it is not only feasible but also highly beneficial. These nations consistently rank high in educational attainment, innovation, and overall quality of life. Their models prove that when education is accessible, society as a whole prospers. Therefore, I contend that making university education free is not a utopian dream, but a practical and necessary step towards a more equitable, prosperous, and enlightened society. It is an investment we cannot afford not to make.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. Mr. Cole, your opening statement, please.
Thank you, Mr. Wells. Dr. Vance presents a compelling vision, and the aspiration for wider access to education is one I share. However, the concept of universally free university education, while noble in its intent, presents significant economic challenges and potential unintended negative consequences that we must carefully consider. The most immediate concern is the immense financial burden this would place on taxpayers. Free is a misnomer. It simply means that the cost is shifted from the individual student to the collective taxpayer. This includes individuals who may not attend university themselves or who have already paid for their education. Is it equitable to ask them to shoulder the full cost for others? Estimates for implementing such a system run into the tens, if not hundreds, of billions annually. This would necessitate substantial tax increases or drastic cuts in other essential public services like healthcare, infrastructure, or primary and secondary education, which are arguably more universal in their benefit. Furthermore, there's a genuine risk of overcrowding and a subsequent decline in educational quality if resources are stretched too thin. Universities require significant funding for faculty, facilities, research, and support services. If funding per student decreases due to a surge in enrollment without a commensurate increase in overall budget, we could see larger class sizes, fewer resources, and a general dilution of the academic experience. quality cannot be maintained, let alone improved, without adequate investment per student. Another crucial point is the potential impact on student motivation and course selection. When students have no personal financial stake in their education, there's a risk they may not value it as highly. This could lead to higher dropout rates or students pursuing degrees with limited economic viability simply because there's no direct cost to them. A personal investment often correlates with commitment and a more discerning approach to one's studies and career path. Instead of a blanket free-for-all approach, I believe targeted financial aid, scholarships, and income contingent loan systems are far more efficient and equitable solutions. These mechanisms can ensure that students from low-income backgrounds have access to university without overburdening the entire tax base or compromising educational standards. This allows us to direct resources where they are most needed, fostering opportunity without dismantling the principle of shared responsibility. It's about smart investment, not just universal provision.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. Mr. Cole, your rebuttal.
Mr. Cole raises valid points about the financial implications, but they are not insurmountable. He speaks of a burden on taxpayers, but I see it as a societal investment with substantial returns. Funding models can be diverse and progressive. We could explore increased corporation tax, particularly for highly profitable sectors, or closing tax loopholes that currently allow billions to go uncollected. A small wealth tax on the very richest in society, or even a reallocation of funds from less productive government expenditures could also contribute significantly. It's about political will and priorities, not an inherent impossibility. Regarding concerns about quality, these are predicated on the assumption that funding wouldn't keep pace. Proper government investment, understanding education as a cornerstone of national strength, can indeed maintain and even enhance quality. Increased demand doesn't have to mean diluted resources if the funding model is robust. Moreover, the long-term economic benefits, a more skilled workforce, greater innovation, reduced reliance on social welfare due to higher earning potential, would generate increased tax revenues, offsetting initial costs over time. This isn't just about spending money. It's about investing in human capital, which is the most valuable asset any nation possesses. The economic growth spurred by a highly educated population will create a more prosperous society for everyone, including those who don't attend university themselves.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. Mr. Cole, your rebuttal.
Dr. Vance's proposed funding models, while sounding appealing, often face significant practical and political hurdles. Raising corporation taxes excessively can lead to capital flight or reduce competitiveness. Wealth taxes are notoriously difficult to implement and collect effectively, and reallocating budgets inevitably means taking from other vital areas, which then creates new problems. The fairness aspect remains a major concern. Is it truly equitable to compel all taxpayers to fund degrees that may primarily benefit the individual graduate in terms of higher lifetime earnings, especially if those degrees are in fields with low societal demand but high personal interest? My concern about the efficient allocation of resources extends to the potential for, quote, degree inflation. If university becomes free and universally accessible, the signaling value of a degree might diminish. We might see an oversupply of graduates in certain fields and an undersupply in others that are crucial for economic development, but perhaps less appealing if there's no personal cost associated with the choice of study. This is a misallocation of talent and resources. Furthermore, the issue of student motivation and accountability cannot be dismissed lightly. While many students are intrinsically motivated, the absence of any financial commitment can, for some, reduce the perceived value and seriousness of their studies. This could lead to less rigorous engagement and potentially higher attrition rates, wasting public funds.
Thank you both. Let's move into our moderated discussion. Dr. Vance, a common question arises. When we say free university education, what does that encompass? Are we talking solely about tuition fees, or would it also cover living expenses, books, and materials, which can be substantial barriers themselves?
That's a crucial clarification, Mr. Wells. Ideally, free should encompass the full cost of attendance to truly remove financial barriers. This would mean covering tuition fees, essential learning materials, and contributing significantly towards living costs, perhaps through generous grants or stipends. However, I acknowledge that a phased approach might be more pragmatic. Starting with the elimination of tuition fees would be a monumental first step, drastically reducing the financial burden. Support for living costs could then be scaled up over time. The principle is to ensure that no student is deterred from pursuing higher education or forced to live in poverty while doing so. The scope can be debated, but the aim is comprehensive access.
Mr. Cole, if university education were to become free, what impact do you foresee on private universities? Would they struggle to compete, or would it create a more tiered system?
That's a significant consideration. If public universities become entirely free, private institutions, which rely on tuition fees, would face immense competitive pressure. They might struggle to attract students unless they offer something distinctly different or superior, such as specialized programs, smaller class sizes, or unique networking opportunities. This could inadvertently lead to a more sharply delineated two-tiered system: free public universities, potentially with very large student numbers, and expensive private universities catering to a wealthier demographic, or those seeking specific niches. The overall diversity of the higher education landscape might be reduced. Furthermore, if private institutions decline, it could reduce innovation and choice within the sector. A healthy mix of public and private provision often spurs improvement across the board.
Dr. Vance, Mr. Cole raised concerns about maintaining quality with increased enrollment. If education is free, how do we ensure quality and prevent a one-size-fits-all system that might not cater to diverse student needs or academic disciplines effectively?
Quality assurance is paramount, and it requires robust, sustained public investment, not just open doors. This means investing in faculty development, modern infrastructure, research capabilities, and student support services. It's not simply about making it free. It's about making it excellent and free. To avoid a one-size-fits-all system, funding formulas could be designed to support a diversity of institutions and programs, including specialized technical colleges, research-intensive universities, and liberal arts colleges. Furthermore, autonomy for universities in curriculum development and research, within a framework of national quality standards, would be essential. The goal is to expand access to high-quality, diverse educational pathways, not to homogenize them.
Mr. Cole, you advocate for targeted aid. How would you respond to the argument that such systems can be complex to navigate, may not reach all who need them, and can still leave students from middle-income families with considerable debt?
It's true that targeted aid systems need to be well-designed and user-friendly. Simplification of application processes and proactive outreach are crucial to ensure that aid reaches all eligible students. However, the imperfections of targeted systems do not automatically make universal free tuition the superior option. Income-contingent loans, for instance, address the debt concern by tying repayments to future earnings, ensuring that graduates do not face unmanageable burdens. For middle-income families, the level of subsidy, or the cap on repayments, can be adjusted. The key advantage is that resources are concentrated on those with the greatest need, making it a more fiscally responsible approach than subsidizing the education of individuals who could comfortably afford to contribute. It allows for a progressive system without the enormous cost of universal provision.
A final question for both of you briefly. What is the primary role of universities today? Is it predominantly for job preparation and economic advancement? Or does it encompass broader societal development, critical thinking, and citizenship?
I believe it's unequivocally both, Mr. Wells. Universities are vital for equipping individuals with the skills and knowledge needed for the modern economy, which is a significant driver for individual and national prosperity. However, their role extends far beyond mere job training. They are crucial for fostering critical thinking, nurturing creativity, promoting civic engagement, and advancing knowledge for its own sake. A free system supports all these facets by making them accessible to everyone with the potential to benefit and contribute.
I concur that universities serve multiple roles. Job preparation is undeniably a major component, and a return on investment for both the student and society is expected through enhanced productivity and earnings. However, the development of critical thinking and an informed citizenry are also vital outcomes. My contention is that these broader societal benefits can still be achieved, and perhaps more sustainably, through a system that combines public support with some level of individual contribution, ensuring resources are used efficiently and responsibly to maintain the quality that underpins all these roles.
Thank you. We now move to closing statements. Dr. Vance, please summarize your position.
In summary, the case for free university education rests on the principles of equality, societal advancement, and economic good sense. It is an investment in our people, our most precious resource. By removing financial barriers, we unlock the potential of countless individuals, fostering a more skilled, innovative, and engaged citizenry. The alternative is to perpetuate a system where access to life-changing education is determined by wealth, not talent or ambition. The economic arguments against it often overlook these substantial long-term returns: increased tax revenue from higher earners, reduced reliance on social support, and a more dynamic economy fueled by educated graduates unburdened by debt. Concerns about quality and funding are challenges to be met with intelligent policy and political commitment, not reasons for inaction. Many developed nations have shown it is possible. Let us envision a future where higher education is a public good, accessible to all who aspire to it, leading to a more equitable, knowledgeable, and prosperous society for generations to come. It's a bold step, but a necessary one.
Thank you, Dr. Vance. Mr. Cole, your closing statement.
Throughout this debate, I have emphasized that while the goal of broad access to higher education is commendable, the policy of universally free university tuition is fraught with economic perils and potential negative consequences. The immense cost to taxpayers, many of whom will not directly benefit, cannot be understated. This would necessitate significant tax hikes or detrimental cuts to other essential public services, creating an unfair burden. Furthermore, the risks to educational quality due to overstretched resources, the potential for degree inflation, and the impact on student motivation when there is no personal financial investment are serious concerns that have not been adequately addressed by proponents. A more prudent and sustainable approach involves targeted financial aid, robust scholarship programs, and income-contingent loans. These mechanisms ensure that education is affordable for those from disadvantaged backgrounds without imposing an unsustainable fiscal burden on the entire nation, or compromising the quality and value of a university degree. We need a balanced approach that fosters access and opportunity while upholding fiscal responsibility and ensuring that our higher education system remains a world-class engine of innovation and individual advancement. Let us choose smart, sustainable solutions over idealistic but ultimately unworkable policies.
Thank you, Mr. Cole, and thank you, Dr. Vance, for a truly insightful and spirited debate this evening. You've presented compelling arguments from both perspectives on this complex issue. We've heard arguments for education as a public good versus concerns about economic sustainability, and differing views on how best to ensure both access and quality in higher education. It is clear there are many factors to consider. We encourage our audience to reflect on the points raised tonight.